Jordan Turwood, Wood on 1063 for your UFC 249 preview and analysis. And I was told by a good friend that I should change up the background for some of these videos. So here you go. Different background. Hope that one individual embraces the change. UFC 249 is set. We're a few days away from it taking place in Jacksonville, and nothing yet has come up, which actually I find shocking. I really do. I think that the UFC has put in some good standards. They're doing 1,200 different types of testing that are going to be made available to the fighters, their managers, and their cornermen. But it does beg the question: like, could those 1,200 tests be made readily available to some of our healthcare workers, some of the people working on the front lines to make sure that we get through this pandemic? But most people are not complaining. The reason they're not complaining is because we got live sports. We've got live sports to bet on. And I will as well. I'll have 6 plays for you, fatjacksports.com. That's where you should go to get the selections, including picks on the main event and the co-main event. And the main event is just absolutely spectacular. The analysis that I've been providing for the match between Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje, if you look at it in particular, Justin Gaethje comes in now. He has 4.5 weeks to prepare. He did not have that timetable when he was originally scheduled to fight in on short notice on April 16th against Tony Ferguson. So he's now had 4.5 weeks to prepare. He's definitely going to be 100%. And without a doubt, this is the hardest hitter that Tony Ferguson has faced throughout his mixed martial arts, in particular his UFC career. And for a guy that takes a lot of damage to inflict it, that is an issue. An overhand right by Justin Gaethje could very well end the night for a guy as talented as Tony Ferguson. If you're a Tony Ferguson backer, you're looking at the 2 losses that Justin Gaethje had in his UFC career, the Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez, 2 guys that like to take a lot of damage, to inflict a lot of damage, pressure their opponent, and also are cardio machines. All 3 of those attributes do apply to one Tony Ferguson. And I always add this element when I'm talking about Tony Ferguson because I do believe he has the best chance to defeat Khabib Nurmagomedov in the lightweight division. He's crazy. The type of mentality that Tony Ferguson has is crazy. It's bonkers. It's nuts. I mean, the dude cut weight for a fight that he was not having during a pandemic. That just speaks to the mentality and the attitude that Tony Ferguson has. So that'll be one of my selections. It's going to be an outstanding fight. I cannot wait for it. As I mentioned, we will also have a pick for the co-main event, which features the 3.5-year return of the former UFC bantamweight champion Dominick Cruz against the current champion Henry Cejudo, who's on one of the most brilliant runs that we've ever seen in mixed martial arts. His victory over Demetrius Johnson, his knockout of Marlon Moraes and TJ Dillashaw. He's a 2-divisional champ, Olympic-style wrestler, Triple C, as awkward as he comes off. He's a fantastic fighter, and that should be a fantastic fight. And that'll be one of our releases as well. Not one of our picks, but certainly my recommended play would be Fabricio Verdum over Alexei Oleinik. Certainly understand Verdum's getting up there in age. This is a 1.5 years since he's far removed from his last UFC appearance, but he should definitely have the stand-up advantage over Oleinik with his background, or his not his background, but his evolution with his Muay Thai, his striking, and then obviously when it gets to the ground, Alexei Oleinik is no joke. I mean, the bull constrictor can just take the air out of any opponent that he has, but I believe it's going to be very difficult for him to get into that boa constrictor position, any type of choke that he wants to do with an opponent like Fabricio Verdum. The other fight that I'm certainly recommended, and I love the guy. I love him so much, both his social media antics and what he does in the cage. Nico the Hybrid Price in a rematch against Vicente Luque, but I'm taking Luque. I think it'll be the same result as the last time that they fought years ago. Vicente Luque was a streaking fighter. He's won 9 of his last 11 fights, 9 finishes in his during that run. A very talented counter striker, very well versed in submissions as well. Nico Price gets hit a little bit too much for my comfort, particularly in this fight. So can't wait for it. I mean, top to bottom, this fight card is outstanding. We've got some news to tease a little bit later on that will come out in the next couple of days with ESPN, with one Dean Thomas. So pay attention to that. So as I mentioned, 6 plays, fatjacksports.com. You get them all. Just sign on up. We are on an 8-1 streak since the last time the UFC, had a fight card. And then I'm giving you out for free Vicente Luque over Nico Price, Fabricio Verdum over Alexei Oleinik. Yes, they are both big-time favorites. They are expected to win, but those are some recommended plays that I'll have for you here. FatJackSports.com, Wood on 1063. Enjoy the fights.